So I think he should be given time. But I think there's another aspect to it as well. I don't know if we necessarily brought in the right person. And the reason that I say that is the level of player that he's dealing with at Chelsea in comparison to what he was dealing with at Brighton, they're worlds apart. And the style of football that he played at Brighton, you know, a lot of the time it was almost as if he was looking for a draw. I genuinely believe he should have brought in the Celtic manager, and Postecoglou. I think his style of football would be much better suited to Chelsea. But having said all that, I do think we need to give him time. I mean, obviously the World Cup's coming up. There's going to be a bit of a break. So I hope that when he come back after the Christmas break, I'd like to see an uplifting performance. Because if I don't, within a month, then we don't muck about the managers, then I think he'll be gone by the end of January,
Topher, I totally agree with you. I do think he needs to be given time. I also think he needs to be given a transfer window at least. But when you're looking at January transfer window for Chelsea, who do you think, what areas do you think needs to be improved?
Well, so for me, I think Aubameyang was a blunder. I don't think we should have signed him. And I think when I'm talking about Ange Postecoglou, and he's got a knack of bringing in players on smaller budgets, and albeit it's the Scottish League, but some of the players that he's signed have really stepped up to the plate in the Champions League. I mean, Celtic ran Real Madrid ragged in the first half. So I think Ange, if he was given a bit more budget, he'd be able to bring in players. There's players actually at the club at Celtic that I would recommend to bring in. Jota, the boy Jota, he's amazing.
You're a Celtic fan, Topher, or a Chelsea fan?
What's that? I'm a Chelsea fan, mate. No, I'm not a Celtic fan.
Sorry, can I just jump in? Sorry, because I thought I did hear you say, when you get back, when the football resumes after the World Cup, and if, things don't change after a month, you would. Listen, I get how Chelsea kind of just, sometimes they just let managers go. But are you really saying that if after a month, that it doesn't change for Potter, you would say, you know what, let's get him out and let's get somebody else in?
I do. That's the mentality we've got at our club. We don't muck about, so.
Jeez, is that how football's gone now, yeah?
Well, it has, absolutely.
Yeah,
Look at the Crystal Palace manager that was sacked after 3 games.
Yeah. No, the reason why I'm trying to jump in is the fact where now longevity can't be. So even, and I can go back to, and again, I don't like to say, even when I thought Leicester manager, Brendan Rodgers. We talked about Arteta last year, bottom of the league after 3 games. This year, what happened to building a project, building something? And I understand where you're saying that, it happens in the game. It doesn't make it right. And the more that we kind of just accept the culture coming in, it's just going to continue to roll on, no?
So I absolutely see where you're coming from. If you look at managers that have had longevity in the game, I mean, there's probably only a handful, really, Alex Ferguson, Wenger. But in the current state of affairs, absolutely. talkSPORT, last season, everyone was calling, including pundits at talkSPORT, calling for Arteta's head, and he's turned it round. So I think there are occasions where the board will back players, but it's just not something that they do at Chelsea. And that's not going to change, And so I think, I'm not saying that it's the right thing to do, but that's the mindset we have. So I just can't see, maybe if I reframe what I said, I can't see him lasting longer than January unless he delivers results.
Topher, cheers for the call. I mean, I think it's difficult because he's right. Chelsea, historically, certainly under Roman Abramovich, did hire and fire managers fairly regularly, but I think Todd Boehly seems to want to build for the long term a little bit more. Having said that, Graham Potter is still going to need to find some results. But if there's one change that Chelsea need to make between now and when the transfer window ends in January, it's not necessarily changing the playing squad. They need that director of football because it hasn't worked. You look at the recruitment in the summer that Todd Boehly oversaw. Raheem Sterling looked a good signing. I think he's been largely disappointing. Koulibaly has disappointed as well. And I think Topher was right. For me, Aubameyang, when it comes to the top level of the Premier League, I just don't think he's going to score goals on a regular basis. So I would encourage Todd Boehly, get your house in order, get someone who knows how to run things at Stamford Bridge from the football side, and only then I think can Chelsea really start to turn a corner.